Ooh, you just wanna be everything you intended to be.
What if Superman was a poo-poo head? That is more or less the serious question which underpins the entire Cadmus arc in JLU. The notion that the world is always at the mercy of a trust that only exists because of a collective and mutual naivety. Everyone, including Superman himself, takes for granted that violating this trust is out of the realms of possibilities.
We would never fight the government.
Not even if Luthor was the government?
The clever thing about the way this question is framed in the show, though, is that it's not an abstract deconstruction where we take a character from a simpler time then put him in a more cynical modern environment, a la BVS.
When the planet was founded, it stood for something, Perry.
And so could you if it was 1938, but it's not 1938.
Instead, the weight of this question is built on years of pre-established characterization. I argue what defines the motivation of JLU Superman isn't the traditional teachings of the Kents or Jor-El. I mean, that's still present, obviously.
You must never use your powers in anger.
But there's something more above them. Something else which motivates Superman. Fun. When Clark discovers he's an alien after years of confusion, he's angry.
I'm not!
But what makes him get over it aren't Jonathan's wise words or Jor-El's teachings, it's him flying for the first time, and this joy is so powerful that it clears his mind and puts him back to the right path.
Yes!
When he goes to Metropolis, Clark is an identity used for both, obviously practical purposes in terms of staying on top of what's going on in Metropolis, but he also explicitly uses it for the purpose of being able to relax.
Does this mean I'm going to have to give up my life?
No, son. It doesn't matter where you were born or what you can do, you'll always be Clark Kent. Superman just helps out now and then.
His relationship with Lois has no lustful, if only she would notice me sort of dimension to it. It's instead based on shared banter and a playful sense of competition.
What am I, chopped liver?
I'm sure Superman likes you too.
He publicly announces that he's an alien to form a trust because being an alien isn't a sensitive matter to him. None of these individual creative approaches and details are particularly groundbreaking, but collectively, they paint a portrait of someone who's shaped by a very, very healthy high amount of self-esteem.
You were just toying with me the whole time! Even from the start!
Pretty much, yeah.
Thus, the question of what if he becomes a dickface is tied to a very specific overlap of this characterization turning into narcissism.
Something changing your mind.
To begin, obviously, I gotta give some very clear definitions, and more importantly, important distinctions between high self-esteem and narcissism. My favorite one is easily narcissists like themselves in unlikable ways, and high self-esteem individuals like themselves in likable ways. One may dislike the narcissist for placing importance on outdoing others, and not placing importance on interpersonal caring or morality. In contrast, the high self-esteem individual may be admired for placing importance on pro-social traits. This is the definition, of course, I used in my old Loki videos, but in the case of Superman, I do want to utilize a more specifically social definition. One that I really dig is narcissists think of themselves as superior to others, reflecting a vertical, hierarchical view of themselves in relations to others, whereas high self-esteemers think of themselves as worthy, reflecting a horizontal, non-hierarchical view of themselves in relations to others. This is the reason why I'm using high self-esteem as a term here. It's not synonymous with narcissism. They are very, very different. One is about valuing the self through looking down on others, the other is about valuing the self by looking at others. As a result, the social consequences are quite divergent because narcissists don't have the desire to establish deep bonds with others, while high self-esteem individuals want to establish intimate bonds, and instead of wanting to get ahead, they want to get along. The purpose of this video, as a result, is about understanding what separates these two mindsets inside Superman, and to analyze this as a case study. Ironically, the show literally has two Supermen that personify these differences.
A Superman so very much like you killed the president.
What if Superman made fried eggs out of Lex's bald scalp? In another world, he did.
Do you smell something?
All because the former president was able to reframe his history of pro-social actions as insincere. that being a good man and not burning people alive was a deliberate subconscious cycle for Superman.
You love it so much, it's made you my most reliable accomplice.
Accomplice?
To get more praise, more attention, and more Friday night orgies probably. Thus, he actually realizes
I did love being a hero, but if this is where it leads, I'm done with it.
lobotomizing villains, imposing an authoritarian rule over the entire planet, where protests are disallowed and Lois's complaints are given the reply, well, I'm protecting people and this is temporary. Also, don't move.
Like I'm some kind of hysterical...
Sorry, Miss Lane, but you know the rules.
It's important to state that this shift to being a poo-poo head stems from initially altruistic intentions, an attempt to rectify what he perceives as a personal selfish flaw, where his high self-esteem was vanity. And that's what led to Lex becoming president, and Flash getting shot in the face by a shotgun. He does not start out as a narcissist. The narcissism instead comes from how comfortable he becomes with his compromises, to the point of having the hubris to believe that spreading his rule across Earths was a good idea.
Everything he does from now on is your fault!
To the extent that he's comfortable with killing the Flash himself to succeed.
I've done a lot of things I thought I'd never do these last 2 years. One more won't hurt.
Our Superman was only able to beat his equal by subverting expectations. He teamed up with his Lex to refuse to be dominating and competitive. The danger of Superman is this unconscious slip where the high self-esteem of I am worthy enough to help others turns into, well, I know what's best for others, thus I should decide for them.
So when do you think might be a good time to have one?
Patience, Mr. President.
This is deepened further in JLU because he's not just the most powerful man on Earth, he now leads the most powerful army on Earth, so his lack of awareness becomes concerning. Like when he's too preoccupied with fighting Doomsday to stop a nuke, going as far as trying out lobotomy himself.
Didn't you recently try to lobotomize Doomsday with your heat vision, just as the Justice Lord did?
That's different.
It's the same.
Or when he joins Huntress to lead an off-the-book attack against Cadmus to rescue Question. Compromise is dangerous for Superman because it's the first step towards blind hubris.
Make sure everyone bows down to worship you? Is that what you were going to say?
That's not what we want. Can't you just listen for a second? Love.
The only thing that regulates his actions are the bonds he has with people. He listens to Lois, even if he doesn't always agree.
Don't even joke about that. I'm nothing like Lex Luthor.
He stops joking when Batman starts shouting.
You don't get to joke!
And in his rage, he asks permission from his friends.
Give me one good reason not to go down there and take them out.
If you didn't know the answer, you wouldn't have bothered to ask.
Superman wasn't initially stopped in the other world, presumably because everyone was too busy grieving and looking for retribution after the death of Flash.
I keep expecting him to come zipping in any minute.
And then say something really stupid, right?
But in a less personally tense environment, Superman is stabilized by his friends.
I don't remember asking you for your opinion.
No. How about when you guys hijacked me up here against my will and made me join this team? Batman said I was supposed to keep you guys honest.
I'd like to think Batman went out of his way to enlist Green Arrow because he knew his best friend, his brother, under this greater responsibility, needed someone to make him believe that not killing, to keep putting the bad guys away, even if it seems pointless, even if it seems like Flash got killed, isn't selfish.
What if you do decide to go marching down there, taking care of whoever you think is guilty? Who could stop you? Me?
But actually, the least selfish thing he can do. To kill someone else would mean Superman would break the trust he has with the people, and in turn, change his relationship with them, where they're not a presence next to him, but are now below him.
I'm guilty. We're guilty of the sin of hubris. We had the best of intentions, to be Earth's guardians, to keep you safe, but we failed you. We looked down on the world from our tower in the sky and let our power and responsibilities separate us from the very people we were supposed to protect. No one should ever be afraid of us.
I went into writing this video not really sure what sort of findings I get. My vague guess was that the story of the line between Superman's high self-esteem and narcissism would compose some sort of narrative about the dangers of power when it's unregulated and dissociated from the common person. This is very much present within the big picture storytelling, but within Superman's own internal biographical journey, the arc actually kind of resembles a coming-of-age tale, a moral growth, where Superman's foundational sense of playfulness, which allowed him to live responsibly from the worst of days to the best of days, had to be outgrown to an extent. As he got older, gained more influence on an organizational level. He had to become more consciously responsible. His own big emotional impulses could no longer be acted upon without extra thoughts, without being reviewed. However, the beauty of this moral interdependence between Superman and those around him is how Superman as a leader and a hero becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. He serves the people because it's what makes him happy, even when it's not convenient. Hell, I don't think I've ever heard someone so joyful over the idea of suggesting a rotating staff for a new embassy.
Maybe we could open an embassy on Earth so we can be closer to the people. We could have a rotating staff, some kind of...
You guys can handle this.
While the people follow his example, and also refer to his example to tell him when he's wrong.
The world needs the Justice League, and the Justice League needs you, Superman.
And what he needs to do, so then he can continue to walk the same path and have a blast while at it.
Well, it's all going faster, and you can't get a hold of things, and you're longing and searching for something more. You try to remember all the good things that your mama told you. It turns around, you see, it takes time, but you just can't believe that. Believe that, no, you just can't believe that. Believe that, no, you just can't believe that.
I'm not the man who killed President Luthor. Right now, I wish to heaven that I were, but I'm not.
I wanna know, where did we go wrong? Could we ever change this song into something beautiful, like the beauty that we've seen?
So this video was made because I kind of realized I've talked about JLU Superman a good couple of times, but I've not really dived into a really academically driven analysis of him, and I was like, this seems like a really good time to bring back the narcissism versus high self-esteem stuff, because I've been really itching to go back to previous areas that I've used and studied for these videos, and this was like pretty good. It's a pretty good option. I'm working on a Young Justice Dick Grayson video, which is about effective forecasting, so I'm bringing those theory stuffy stuff back. Special thanks to everyone on Patreon. You guys are getting a very specific exclusive video soon.
You aren't your family. You're one of us.